Welcome to Make a Difference with Phil Martelli. He is Phil Martelli. I am Jared Phillips. And Phil, first off, I have to start by wishing you a happy belated Father's Day.
Well, I appreciate that. And to everybody out there, uh, my intention now is to not just make it a day, not just make it a week, but month, year, Father's Day, but the same for mothers out there. And I have to admit that Father's Day, even though I was traveling on that day, led me to think of one person, and that would be Pop. A lot of people know the man, the myth, the legend that was Pop Martelli, but I go all the way back. He held 3 jobs at one time. He was a chemist assistant at DuPont. Okay. Like the office, like Dwight Schrute was assistant to the Pop was not a chemist. He was a chemist assistant at DuPont forever and ever and ever. He did billing at Misericordia Hospital that was in Southwest Philadelphia. And he sold tickets for the Philadelphia teams. 3 jobs, yet never missed a game. Never missed one of my games. And he was notorious early on referees, to the point that in my last college game at the University of Scranton, he came out of the stands, pointed at the referee, never heard the man curse, and said, "You are a hamburger, referee." He was thrown out of the gym. He was taken out of the gym by 2 college security guards, not college kids security guards. And as they walked behind our bench, Tommy Mann, a legendary high school coach at Glen Mills, state champion at Glen Mills, yelled to Pop, "Pop, duck," and the guy, he hit the 2 security guards. And there was a little skirmish. My brain worked like this. There were 3,000 people there. 12 were for Widener. And this was not really a good idea. They continued to take Pop out. Pop went out the one door, went across the atrium area in the gym, and came in the other side and sat on the other side. They were not going to keep him out. He then changed. He stepped back from really ref baiting, and he was an umpire. So he was through all that. The day I got the St. Joseph's job, he retired from DuPont, never missed a practice, never missed a game. And towards the end of his life, when he missed a practice, and I would send a manager to pick him up, and he was reluctant to come, I knew that he was not as healthy as he was letting on. And then the legend. He never left the gym where he did not thank every manager, every coach, every player, every fan, and every referee. And you know what he thanked them for? Giving him the opportunity to enjoy watching them. So when I go out and I speak and I say, "Thank you" is the most powerful statement in the English language, it's because of Pop. Missed for sure. Gone for sure. Never to be forgotten. That guy was a father through and through.
I thought about Pop this past weekend. And, well, first off, I just want to know, I wonder what the ref thought being called a hamburger. Like, he's probably just bewildered, right?
Well, it was better than being called a cheater, I guess.
I do also. I have to give a quick shout out while we're on the topic. Obviously, my pop on my other side passed recently. You were at the services, a wonderful military service for my grandfather, and the Phillies organization sent our family a note offering their condolences in our time of grieving, and I just thought that was an incredible gesture from them, and I just want to thank the Phillies once again. I tweeted about it and put it on Instagram and stuff, but I mean, that's just a first class organization. And we're obviously always got our finger on the pulse of the Phils here. And I just feel like that had to be mentioned in this Father's Day
Great effort.
Father's Day conversation because it was just it was terrific to see. He was the biggest. I'll say the biggest Phillies fan I know, but I mean I know you're gunning for that throne in terms of your Phil's fandom. But man, I was just really honored by that, and you know, thinking about both of them, along with, of course, my own father and every father out there.
Well said. And then I have this uplifting update. Loaves and Fishes project was in my head, went into my heart. I'll reach out to Deacon Joe Boyle and Miss Logan at St. Mary Magdalene, Sister Maggie and Sister Kathy, who are on our podcast. Words cannot describe the outpouring from the St. Mary Magdalene community, from other high school graduations, people dropping food off, young sixth, seventh, and eighth graders collecting, one family driving it down and dropping it off in Chester. To the point that we now have people saying, when will that happen again? And there's going to be a private girls' school in Montgomery County that's going to take on the same excess to access. You have a party, don't wrap the stuff up and give it to family members. Yeah, now if they want it, yes. But there's a place of need. Loaves and Fishes will be back. We'll be back. Dabbling with the idea of Christmas, but we'll probably stick with this time of the year: graduations, first communions, celebrations, end of year. And thank you to everybody involved, and to Sister Maggie and Sister Kathy. Thank you for allowing us to be a part of Access Chester. It was terrific.
A really phenomenal effort all around. Kudos to you. Kudos to them. Everyone putting this together, and the people that donated are really the heroes in this
They're
scenario.
the heroes. No question about it. Couldn't have said it better. And maybe that's going to make a Martelli Minute.
Will it?
It could make a Martelli Minute. Martelli Minute, sponsored by Status Solutions, statussolutions.com. What are they creating? Creating technology to make our students safer. There's all these rules and regulations. Status Solutions at the forefront of making our schools safer. Every community has an opportunity to participate. Learn more. Statussolutions.com. Statussolutions.com. Sponsors of the Martelli Minute. And where can you find that?
Instagram, Phil_Martelli, every morning at about 6:30.
Yeah, we're working hard at 6:30.
Yeah.
Pursue service to others. You may never know the difference you can and will make. Hope is a gift worth giving yourself. Not despair, hope. Allow others to hear your voice. Don't sit in the background. You have a lot to offer. I need help is a statement of strength and awareness, never a sign of weakness. If you're smart enough to know that you need help and you voice it, that's a strength. Define true friendship. We've talked about that before on the podcast. Who would you call at 2:00 in the morning with a flat tire? How many of them would show up? How many people would call you? How do you define true friendship? And how many true friends are you blessed to have? And then doing more with less is true grit. Want to know what's inside you? Do more with less. And our guest today has done a lot. And he's always in service of others. This is going to be another good one. We're going to have to take over the Alps because we keep going to the mountaintop every single time with these guests. And today is really no exception. An exceptional young guy, and he unleashes his fanness. Now, you're not even aware because fanness is not a word, it's a concept. Fanness, a willingness to celebrate another's success. Everything this young guy does, he unleashes his fanness. He's celebrating another's success, another coach, another player, another event. It's phenomenal how he is able to go through life all the time putting his fanness on display. Basketball, as I've said before, is a societal experiment. Doesn't matter if you're rich or poor, doesn't matter if you're black or white, doesn't matter if you're suburbs or city. It's all makes of life coming together because of this game. Philadelphia is blessed and has been blessed for a long time to have behind the scenes superstars promoting. We did it with our AAU coaches and directors behind the scenes. We've been blessed in this city to have the late, great Ted Solari, Norm Evanson, Alan Rubin. The people that run the Conshohocken tournament have been there for 35 and 40 years. Today's guest is one of those behind the scenes, promoting the game, lifting others. City of Basketball Love, creator, editor, financier, owner. This is a pleasure to welcome Josh Verlin to Make a Difference.
Thanks so much, Phil. I was listening to that intro. I was like, wow, who's the guest going to be? This guy sounds really important. And then it's me. So I don't know. People might be a little disappointed by that. But thank you so much. That was
well, Josh, first off, I just want to, I want to take your AP skills to task here. Fanness, is that a word, or do we have to contact Merriam-Webster? I mean,
it's not in the dictionary.
Yeah, I know. You just made that up, man. I like it.
No. It came to me from a very, 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 very close friend who chooses to be anonymous. And when he laid it on me over a breakfast one day, I said, that's not a word. It's a concept, and it's real. A willingness to celebrate another's success. Here's your picture, Josh Verlin. That's what he does.
I'm going to have Phil write the About Us page on the website later today.
Good, yeah.
Feel free.
I do want to say one small thing, though. We are now a 501c3 nonprofit, so I am actually not the owner of City of Basketball Love anymore. I'm our president of our board of directors.
Wow.
So that's my fault. That's an outdated business card.
How about that? Josh, your story. How did we end up here today? Give us your story and your roots. Just tell us about your roots.
Man, without going into 2 hours worth of detail, I mean, the basics are, I was born and raised a Philadelphia sports fan. Basketball wise, I grew up on the Iverson Sixers. I didn't have a family that really necessarily rooted for one of the Big Five schools. I didn't grow up in a family that really watched high school basketball. So those things were pretty foreign to me when I was growing up. So when I went to the University of Pittsburgh in 2007 as a freshman, I kind of was a free agent in terms of my rooting interest. And I went to a school that at the time was, top 5 in the country in basketball and had DeJuan Blair and Sam Young and Levance Fields. And I fell in love with what college basketball is and could be and what it means. And when I ended up transferring back to Temple and studying journalism, I always sort of had in the back of my mind, like, oh, it would be great to cover college basketball. And I was fortunate enough to meet a man named Aaron Bracey, who obviously, Phil, well, St. Joe's grad. And Aaron was starting a website called Philahoops. This was November 2011. And he asked me if I wanted to write for him. So I spent my senior year at Temple writing for Aaron, covering Temple and Drexel men's basketball, and just, sort of confirming what I'd thought for a few years, that covering basketball was a lot of fun. I have to give a shout out to my sports journalism class at Temple, my professor had us go cover a high school game that semester. I remember I covered a Newman Goretti state quarterfinal. So that year was a really big eye opener for me because it got me into college hoops coverage and it showed me what high school basketball could be. So summer 2012, I wanted to keep writing and covering recruiting things, and Aaron was going to shut the website down for the summer. So I said, all right, I'm going to start my own thing because ultimately I like being my own boss. And called up a couple friends. We came up with the name City of Basketball Love, registered their domain June 2nd, 2012, and pretty much just off and running since then. So we started with boys and men's coverage only. We really did like sort of an equal split between high school and college. Over the years, that's evolved much more towards just the high school realm. We still cover college and the Big Five and small colleges as well, certainly. But high school has really become our bread and butter. We added our girls coverage 5 years ago, going to our 5th season covering the girls. It's basically a 50-50 split now. That's also when we went nonprofit. And we've been running camps, clinics, and events since 2014. So that's become a big part of what we do as well. We have big boys and girls preseason showcase each year. We have camps for the Division II and Division III kids. We actually ran our first middle school camp this year just to give those girls an experience of what it was going to be like playing high school basketball. And we've run some in-season showcases as well. So, here we are 13 years later. I can't believe that it's what my career is. I wouldn't have it any other way. We have about 15 freelancers, an incredible staff. Our event director, Steph Garofolo, does an incredible job. It's just, if you'd asked me when I was 20, like what I would be doing with my life, I don't know if in 1,000 guesses I would have predicted this, but it's extremely humbling. It's fun. It's rewarding. I can't even think of more words for it. I love what I do, and I just don't want to do anything else.
Josh, in the very beginning, your roots at Pittsburgh. Why basketball? Why do you think it captured you?
I mean, I always liked the sport. It wasn't like I was a big Sixers fan. I was a huge Allen Iverson fan. Aaron McKee, all those guys, Tyrone Hill, George Lentz. I mean, I love that team. I watched every single game. So I was always a basketball guy. My dad played at Harridan. So like I played with him in like a men's league sometimes when I was a teenager. He just was never like a fan of it. So it was more from a playing side. So it was, I always liked the sport. It's fun. It's exciting. It's up tempo. It's easy to learn and follow. And then just when you get sucked into that, the college atmosphere. I mean, I was one of those kids that was in line. I remember there was a Louisville game. It was a noon ESPN game my freshman year. And I was in line at 4 a.m. with a bunch of friends, to be first in line. I mean, it was that kind of atmosphere on campus. Everybody wanted to go to the Pete to watch games. I went to Madison Square Garden to watch Pitt play Duke my freshman year. It just was, you just got sucked up in it. They were just so good and there was energy around the campus about it. And it was everything you love about college athletics. And I was there at the right place at the right time.
We have people all over that tune in and take bits and pieces from the podcast. Can you describe the Philadelphia basketball community to someone outside of Philadelphia?
It's huge and small at the same time, if that makes sense. There's hundreds of teams and tens of thousands of players and alumni and parents and assorted people that make up the Philadelphia basketball ecosystem. And it's a massive city and the city loves hoops. And yet for all those tens of thousands of people, it just feels like such a tight knit, small community. Everybody, even if you're meeting somebody new, you have 15 friends in common, and the ability for a person, I can't tell you how many times I've seen two people meet that both love the game, and within 2 seconds they're just swapping stories of, I remember when Isaiah Wong did this, and I remember going back throughout the years. So it's big and small at the same time. It's unique. Certainly there are plenty of cities in this country that have great basketball pasts and traditions and scenes and high school scenes and college scenes, but the combination of the Big Five, the Philadelphia Catholic League, the Chesters and Lower Merions and Plymouth White Marshes and Norris Towns and Council Rocks and Pennsbury's, and then you just add in 100 years of history at this point. It's people's grandparents that were standouts and early NBA players, and it's just this huge ecosystem, but yet everybody that you meet within it feels familiar because we're all sharing in this same experience, whether you're from Lower Merion or Northeast Philly or Center City or South Philly or Delco or whatever. We all connect through this 94 feet and ball going through a hoop.
Josh, I really definitely sympathize with your journey. I not too dissimilar of one. Went to Temple, sports journalism grad. It did the local TV circuit, and I grew up an Eagles fan and Sixers fan and Philly sports, and grew to love college sports obviously through it was kind of born into it, if you will. But even going to Temple and everything, I love those big time environments. It was when I first got my first gig out in Springfield, Illinois, and I exclusively covered local high school sports for an online outlet that made me realize that you just have that passion and that love for the game at every single level. It's special everywhere you go, I feel like. But for you, I mean, like you said, you fell in love with a Pittsburgh team that was ranked top 5 nationally. You probably didn't expect to be covering high school hoops the way that you are today, but does it feel that much more special to be able to highlight kids at that level and really show people, hey, there is magic in this game, really, wherever you want to look for it?
Incredibly so, and especially with the changing nature of college basketball and it becoming much more professional and NIL, and I'm generally in favor of all those changes, but there's something that's just so special about the pureness that still, it's chipping away a little bit, but generally still remains at the high school level. Absolutely. And when people ask me what my favorite part of my job is, it's the ability to say, Eric Dixon, who's just finished up a phenomenal career at Villanova. I met him when he was a 14-year-old freshman at Abington. And I remember interviewing him after a game, maybe, 3 weeks into his freshman year and just being impressed by, what a polite and friendly young man he was at that age. And now to say it's been 10 years of covering Eric Dixon, and I know his parents well, and I know him well, and we have such a good relationship and rapport, and you can repeat that for hundreds and hundreds of kids around the area. The first group of kids that I covered 10, 12 years ago are now having kids and getting married, and I know soon enough I'm going to be covering their kids. And it's just so special. You're seeing these people, basketball players, sure, but really human beings at sort of the start of their adult lives and maturing and growing and changing and going into their careers and whether that's in basketball or in other sports or just in the professional world, it's really something special. And I always just am blown away. I have to remember, we're writing about 15, 16, 17-year-old kids that are doing really amazing things in front of huge crowds. It's sometimes hard to forget they're still teenagers, but yeah, it's incredibly special. I love the high school game. I like I said, I never thought I would be doing what I do, but it's really special to be around.
Josh, we're not going to get into the nuts and bolts for people out there with recruiting weekends and what's open, what's not open, but you obviously are well aware and hopefully have banked some sleep because the next 2 weekends are high school team recruiting weekends. What's this feel like? I want to go to Philly Live 1. I want to go to Philly Live 2. I want to go to see the private schools play. Maybe I go to Jersey Live. What is all of this? How would an outsider say, yeah, I'm going to see this team with that coach? How does this work differently, the high school recruiting weekends?
Yeah, well, I mean, first of all, I love the change the NCAA made. I think having these high school weekends in the middle of summer is great. I think having real competition with your high school team in the middle of the summer is great. It's a break from all the AAU and grassroots stuff. It gets high school teams back together. It's a certainly higher quality of basketball, and kids are, working on things they should be working on instead of just, how many Euro steps they can take. But yeah, I mean, this is really good summer basketball. I mean, if you've never been to one of these events, be prepared for a little bit of a circus. They're especially here in Philadelphia, Philly Live, Andre Noble and John Moscow have done an incredible job putting together one of the premier June Live period events in the country. So you're talking 200 teams each weekend, 10 courts going at once between Jefferson University and the Sixth Man Center. There's teams coming in just this first weekend alone from, I think, 9 or 10 different states: Oregon, Virginia, Florida, Ohio, New York, et cetera. So you've got teams coming in from all over the country. You've got probably 300 plus college coaches that'll be there just at that one event over the span of those 3 days. It's nonstop action. It's, crowds everywhere. It's coaches everywhere. It's a flow of movement constantly around these buildings. But the basketball is really, really good. And we're talking about, all the good Catholic League teams and District 1 teams, but private school teams from, all the states that we just mentioned. Cathedral Catholic from San Diego is coming out. So, that is just a wild show. You mentioned the Mid-Atlantic Showcase. I'm really excited for that this year because it's moved from New Jersey up to Allentown. So that's 4 more courts of action. That's all the Interact and Friends Schools League and the prep schools will be up there. Again, schools from Virginia up through New York and Connecticut. So, sort of different atmospheres, right? That's a lot more of the Haverford School, Perkiomen School, postgraduates, that kind of thing. Whereas Philly Live will be everything from, the highest of high majors down through some local teams that have a lot of D3 kids. So really, you'll have the whole gamut of coaches there. Whereas at the independent school, it tends to be a little more of just the Division Ones. But I love these 2 weekends. I mean, like you said, it's not much in terms of sleep. They run from, 12 p.m. to 9 p.m. Friday, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. Saturday, and 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Sunday, and we'll be there pretty much the whole time. But if you're a basketball fan or just, you like sports in general, they're totally different from anything else you're going to see. Chance to rub elbows with all sorts of different people from around the country, really, and see a lot of great hoops while you're doing it.
And Josh, one of the things, and I'm delighted that you mentioned John and brother Andre and all the work that they do. They also put in incredible amounts of effort to make sure that you go see a game. You're not going to see a 75-25 game, right? They match these teams so that the competition is beneficial, not a blowout, and people can act foolish in those situations. Would you agree with that?
Oh yeah, I mean, just think about the months of. First of all, you have to sell the event to all these teams, which gets easier over the years because it's a fantastic event. But you still have to get all those teams in and figure out what your limit is of how many teams you can allow, and then figure out how to start to sort through it of who are your best group and who's your middle group and who's your group that's gonna maybe wouldn't be competitive against the top group. And then figure out how the schedules all work and where teams are going to be staying and where they can get to, and the teams that are coming in from out of town. And some teams are, you mentioned Jersey Live. There are going to be teams that are going to be in Jersey Live on Friday and then Philly Live on Saturday. I mean, it's months and months and months of work. I mean, we do a 118 team shootout in September, half the size, and I can tell you, we're already working on that, and it's June. And have been working on it for a while. So yeah, absolutely huge props to Andre and John and Jazz Williams for what he did for the girls this past weekend too. They had 50 some teams, not quite the same size, but a really great girls event as well. It's a ton of work that goes into it to try to make everybody happy. And I think, what Andre and John have built over the last 7 years is testament to how good they are at it.
And Josh, you left out one little item about rubbing elbows and being in gyms and all that other stuff. The other place that that you can rub elbows and see people from all over the country is across D'Alessandro's and Chubby's. Everybody's in line. How many times will you be asked, where should I go to get a cheesesteak this weekend, Josh?
Oh, yeah, at least 50. Yeah, for sure. For sure. And I will be avoiding those spots for that exact reason this weekend.
High school recruiting versus summer AAU team recruiting. Take us through some of the differences that you're seeing.
Honestly, Phil, as we get further and further into this NIL landscape, I think it's becoming fewer and fewer differences. I think there's handlers everywhere now. There's NIL agents everywhere now. Whether you're with your grassroots team or with your high school team, I think the high school coaches. It's really a case by case basis. I mean, some high school coaches are very involved in their kids recruiting. Usually, the ones that have been around for a little longer or have a few more connections in that realm will be more involved. And some of the high school coaches really take a hands off approach and let the grassroots coaches and the parents and the handlers all work with the kids on that. So, it's kind of a wild west out there right now. The high school transfers are. I don't want to say more and more of a problem. They've been, happening at a pretty good clip for years now, and that isn't slowing down or changing. The proliferation of the transfer market and everything has certainly made it tougher as a high school kid to get recruited. So you're seeing more kids do an extra year. I think we're seeing more kids go the junior college route. We're seeing more kids reclassify, at some point in their high school years and take advantage of a prep school or a private school that can give them that extra time. But other than that, I think it's really just sort of a case-by-case thing. Some high school coaches are really involved. Some grassroots coaches are really involved. There's still going to be your bad faith actors and people that are lying to kids and telling them they have offers they don't have, but that's nothing new. I think everybody's still figuring out this new landscape, and I don't know if that's going to settle out anytime before the next 5, 6, 7 years, especially now with, the new changes, this new house settlement, the scholarship limits, the roster sizes, the $20 million a year that all these schools have. Like, we're in a constantly changing environment right now, and every change that happens at the NCAA level takes 5 to 10 years to filter out and have an effect on the high school and grassroots level. So, it's a constant state of change right now.
You talked about John Moscow and Andre Noble and their scheduling. How do you do it with yourself and your staff? Do you have specific games that you want to see, individual kids that you want to see? Do you have an idea right now of what you want to cover and maybe whom you want to cover over these next 2 weekends? How do you go about doing that?
Yeah, that's actually my goal. As soon as we get off today, that's the rest of my day is pretty much setting our schedule. So first, the answer is yes, but you always have to be flexible, right? There's 200 teams. There's no way that we're going to get to every single team, player, storyline that we want to get to this weekend. So step one, figure out how many writers I have available this weekend. I have 15 freelancers. They're not all available. It's the summer. Everybody's got different things going on. Some of them are parents. Some of them are high school kids. So figure out how many staff do I have on any given day at any given event, right? Because I've got some writers up in the Lehigh Valley. Some will be here in Philly. So once I've figured that out, all right, I've got 3 writers, Friday, let's say. So then I look at Friday and I say, all right, what are the top games? What are the best games? And there's great games at Jefferson and there's great games at Philly youth basketball. So I sort of will go through and then try to figure out, like, all right, which of these games can I get to or can my staff get to? Because, if there's a game, if we're doing interviews after a game set, right? If there's a 4:00 game and I have a writer covering that game and they're going to interview Colton Hiller from Coatesville about being selected to the USA U16 team, that writer then can't get to a 5:00 game, right? That writer is going to be doing interviews during the 5:00 game. So then they can get to a 6:00 game. So I've got to pay attention to, okay, if I've got one writer at this facility, they can't watch 9 games in a row. They can watch maybe 2 or 3 games in a row with no interviews, and then they'll have to skip a set and grab some food and then they can get back to a game. So it's kind of putting that whole puzzle together of where can we best utilize our staff. I'll try to pick some good games for myself, but if I look at it, there's a great game here, but there's nothing great around it, then I'll try to, all right, maybe there's a slightly less good game in that set, but it's better for the 3:00 set, 4:00 set, 5. So I've learned over the years, I used to stress so much about making the perfect plan to cover a day. And it's just impossible. There's no way you never know when a game's going to go into overtime, when a court's going to run long, when a game's going to be foul heavy, when a kid that you wanted to talk to has a terrible game and doesn't really feel like talking that much afterwards, or you say, you know what, maybe I'll grab that kid tomorrow when they, don't miss all 30 shots that they took. So you constantly have to just be reevaluating and playing it a little bit on the fly. But it also helps just the knowledge that there are so many good games. And okay, if I don't get to Coatesville today, that's fine. I'll go hit Bonner right now, and I'll get Coatesville later this weekend or next weekend. Or, there's some teams that we just covered at a pre-live event, so they're less of a priority. And I want to mix it up. I don't want to only be looking at Catholic League schools. I want to make sure that we're getting the Catholic League and District 1 and the Public League, and that we're, focusing a little bit on some kids that maybe aren't from the area but have a Villanova offer or a Drexel offer or a Penn offer. Paying attention to, where the Big Five coaches are watching. And if I see a game where LaSalle, St. Joe's, Penn, and Temple are all there, then I should go, maybe I should go check out what's going on that court. So it's making a plan, but it's also making a plan that can be changed, and that if you need to call an audible in the middle of the day, you have that flexibility.
Josh is giving me PTSD to my days covering 18-hour long Christmas tournaments in like the day after Christmas. I can feel it flooding back the memories of just sneaking like a hot dog in halftime of a game between like 6 games covered in a row. My goodness, I feel for you, brother.
I've gotten used to it. I mean, I love it. I do. I do love it. And when you take the pressure off yourself of you have to have a perfect day, I think it becomes a lot more fun. Like, I know, I mean, it's 30 hours of watching basketball this weekend. So I know that I will get 12 to 15 good interviews without even having to try. So that sort of helps me relax a little bit of like, no matter what game I pick, where I go, there's going to be something good for me to see.
Josh, I have the impossible question for you. And I wrote it this morning and I said, there's no way he's going to feel really on the spot. And he does not have a canned answer for this.
Oh boy.
After all of your time, the best story you've ever written.
Can I like pick a small group?
Go ahead.
Norm Evanson's obituary, and Jim Fennerty's obituary were two of the ones that two incredible people, stories I did not want to write, but getting to talk to all these different people about what those two meant to the Philadelphia basketball landscape and doing something special. I mean, Norm didn't have much family, but I know his friends really appreciated that piece, and I know the Fennertys really appreciated the piece I did on them, on Jim. So those are very special pieces to me. I did a feature story on Andre Noble and his background. It was Andre Noble's humble march to greatness. I talked to like the head of school at Boston Latin from like the 90s when Andre went there, and a whole bunch of other people in his life. That was a really special one. Those are the ones that really pop to mind in terms of like really truly special ones. In terms of like more recent ones, I wrote a one on the Perkiomen Valley girls in March after they won the state championship. And I talked to their parents and got pretty much all of them to cry just about the bond their daughters had since like 3rd grade, and then going up to win a state championship. So those stories are really special too.
Others. Here it is.
But
Ready?
those are up there. Yeah.
You can go to any dictionary you want. Right there is fanness. Willingly celebrating another.
Can I say one other thing too that we haven't gotten to in this interview, but I want to make sure that I've mentioned my writers over the years and over the interview and over the years I've had the chance to work with some absolutely incredible young men and young women and some older folks too. And in terms of rewarding parts about City of Basketball Love, I mean, from Teddy Bailey to Jeff Griffith to Zach Drapkin, who's working for the Eagles now. Graham Foley, Matt Ryan, who's also working for the Eagles, Jeff Nyberg, yeah, I'm gonna be missing Rich Flanagan. There's just so many people
Wow.
that I've worked with over the years that have gone on to be just incredible professionals in their fields. Madison Elliott's on television in Kentucky, in Louisville. Just there's just further on down the line. And that's not even to say, Andrew Robinson and Owen McHugh and Joe Santoliquito and David Comer and Dan Arkins and all the people that are currently on staff who do incredible work. But just the impact we've had on all these people that I now just am friends with, but who've come up through the site and have turned that into a career in communications or in sports or in journalism, is really, really special too. So I want to make sure COBL is not just me. It's the work of the literally 100+ writers that have come through the organization over the years, and especially the dozen 15 that have really been contributing significantly the last 3 or 4 or 5 years. Mark Jordan, my photographer, Mark's been with me literally since the first month of the website. So, that's another huge special part of it too, is it's so much of a group effort. And all, having seen all these people that have come through the site and what they're doing now is really, really neat.
I was going to say, Josh,
Beautiful.
many of those bylines through the years, either friends of mine or very familiar with many of those names. A lot of great people have come up through the ranks of City of Basketball Love. It's a pretty awesome network of people that have done some terrific work.
Yeah, I know I'm going to be missing Tyler Sandora. I mean, there's just so many of them. There's so many.
And always remember, and we'll do it for you, to salute the man in the mirror, Josh. You've done remarkable work, and you've done it for others. And selflessly, you're just special, and you're a big, big, big part of this remarkable Philadelphia basketball community. Thank you, but we cannot let you get away without this last one. Every guest that comes on Make a Difference is asked this question: who's made a difference in your life?
My parents. I mean, my wife obviously is amazing, but they're my parents. They, everything, they taught me to be ethical. They taught me to care about other people. They taught me to be a good person. They taught me, I can curse on this, right?
You sure can.
They taught me that assholes are everywhere and you just have to deal with them. They told me that shit's going to happen. They set me up to be successful when I dropped out of law school to run COBL full time. Their response wasn't, "What are you doing?" but it was, "What took you so long?" And in addition to their financial support and helping us fundraise, and I wouldn't have been able to be where we are now if my parents hadn't supported me in the early years of the website. There's no COBL without Mark and Shelley Verlin. So, and my grandparents too, who I miss and love terribly. So, but yeah.
Well, Josh, thank you. You have blessed us with your time and your insight and your passion. Don't ever lose that, my friend. Don't ever lose your passion. It's what separates you and separates this whole Philadelphia basketball community. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much, Phil and Jared. This was a pleasure.
Josh, thank you so much. Yeah, just a terrific chat with Josh. I mean, somebody that has been just a pillar in the Philadelphia basketball community for more than a decade now. The work that he has done to promote the game has been utterly tremendous. And he shared some of his favorite stories, but man, he has, I'm sure, countless incredible stories of just how special this basketball community is.
One of the things that I've always admired is that the focus is not just on Division One. He tells a story about kids going to Division III. He talks to young ladies, Perkiomen Valley story about all of their players and all of their connections from the third grade. Just special. Here's what jumped to me. See if you agree with this. His passion for the high school game came through the entire interview. It's not a job for him. It's a passion. That's special.
Oh, I touched on it as well. I mean, you think about it and, maybe you're too young to almost realize in the moment, 16, 17 years old, But then when you have the opportunity to kind of highlight and tell those stories and see just how much they mean to a community, it really hits you in a different
Great
way
point.
that you realize, oh wow, like this is sport and competition and passion at its truest form.
Great point right there. Great point. So he threw some nuggets out there for where I might be,
Yeah, that's right. I
right?
mean, he's got a
But
busy
first
plate, but
we had to do where I was.
you were jet setting a little bit.
To be able to go from the Loaves and Fishes project collecting, jump on a plane and head to South Carolina to the NBA Players Association Top 100 basketball camp and coaching program. I cannot, I have all these things that popped into my head about, well, I saw this and I did that and sat at lunch with Hakeem Olajuwon and Rip Hamilton uh, picking my brain and Mark Jackson, John Wall coaching, Isaiah Thomas, the Isaiah Thomas from Washington, telling his story to the kids about being drafted 60th and now working on his 13th or 14th year in the league. Phil Handy, who was an assistant coach with the Lakers and had Kobe, has been with LeBron, Fran Fraschilla, Tom Crean, Tubby Smith. The names and the trainers that were there. It was a coaching program. Tyshawn Taylor, St. Anthony's, Kansas, stint in the NBA, played in Italy. He was the coach, and I was mentoring with him. We had a student manager, Charlie Jackson. Charlie plays at Johns Hopkins, has already sent me his schedule, asked me to come watch him play at Swarthmore. We had 8 players from all over the country on our team. There were stations. There was educational seminars for their families. NBA scouts, college scouts were in for 2 days, and they gave us free reign to connect with the college. So if you search really hard, there's a picture from behind of Jimmy, Philip, and myself. And people say there's a resemblance from behind. I don't see it. I couldn't pick that out.
I'm gonna hold my breath. I'm
yeah.
gonna, you know what? I'll be nice today. You just have Father's Day. I'm not.
So much gear and camaraderie and information being shared. It was. I hope I get invited back. My team did not play very well, but that's because they were not coached very well by me, not Tyshawn or the players. But I hope I get invited back because that would be one that I would mark the calendar and say nothing else can happen on that weekend. Came home to get back on a plane to go back to Michigan. My first time back in Michigan. And we went to Eli Brooks' wedding. Eli has been a professional all over the world, in Italy and in Germany. And to walk into that, and Franz Wagner is there, and Colin and Andrew and Hunter Dickinson, John Teskey, Juwan Howard. Such a special event. But I will say this. I have never been to a wedding where the music was that loud, that consistent. They had 2 DJs. One was, I don't know, DJ Euphoria or something like that. And the music was, to be honest with you, it was unrecognizable to me. But it went, and thank you to Eli and Kelly for the invitation. We had a wonderful time. Got home for Father's Day, mass, dinner, La Laconda, great spot, Westchester Pike and Newtown Square. Then Monday went to Baker Hoops. Baker Hoops out of Murphy Recreation Center, 4th and Shunk, as South Philly could be. And I was able to go in and make a little presentation to them on their final night of the tournament. A Don DeJulia special luncheon and a St. Philomena's reunion. This shows your age. There's a reunion of the class of 67 and 68. It's on a Wednesday afternoon, 4 to 7. My guess is that there's a senior citizen discount, and that's why 4 to 7 on a Wednesday. But that's where I was. Pales in comparison to where I am going.
I can only imagine. One quick aside: Eli Brooks is the South Central PA guy. Wedding out in Michigan.
Well, the young lady was
Okay, that was
from Ann
just
Arbor.
wondering because I was like, he's a PA guy. I
Oh,
thought
no
maybe.
question.
Yeah.
No question. Where am I going? I've been invited to stop at Malvern Prep for their basketball camp. Paul Romanchik does a remarkable job coaching, running a summer camp for kids. I'm going to be able to stop there. Next edition of the VCU Zoom, I'll be able to take part of that. Have a CVC breakfast, a planning breakfast. Michael Steenberg is going to take over as the chairman of the committee. Fran Dunphy and I are going to share, and possibly Jay Wright will be there to share with him some of our thoughts and ideas. I'll leave there and go to the Hackers versus Cancer up in Montgomery County. Mike Romano has been running this for years and years and years. And I always enjoy going up there and visiting. Philly Live with Phil Martelli Jr., probably Saturday. There's a big baseball series this weekend. Mets, Phils, national TV, all 3 games. Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I'm going to be in the house either Saturday night or Sunday night for that. And then Widener. Widener's having their basketball golf outing at Lulu Country Club. And I'm going up there to join my teammate and dear friend, Jim Harganon. And I'm going to visit with the golfers and Chris Caridio and the staff. And then we'll catch our breath and see what comes going forward. Next week's podcast. What's next week? NBA draft. Who should we have on? An NBA agent. That's next week's guest. Back to some hoops.
It's going to be a lot of fun to dissect the NBA draft with someone that is going to be, well, their phone is going to be pretty much off the hook that whole week. So that should be very, very interesting, very fun to see. I will say, are you chopping it up at all at this Widener golf? You playing, or are you just going to make an appearance?
No, I'm just going to make an appearance. I have my clubs are safely under dust at Lanark Country Club, and I may venture back out there this summer, but I haven't been out in a while, and I enjoy the camaraderie. My game is not to be enjoyed by myself or by anybody else.
Yeah, I can co-sign on that for myself. I respect it. I understand it. Yeah, I get you. Thanks again to Josh for hopping on the show this week. An unbelievable guest there. City of Basketball Love. If you have not heard about it, I don't know what you've been doing for your entire life, not tuned in and not locked in on Philly area hoops. Fantastic show coming up next week. We're going to get the real, I would say, breadth of what the NBA draft looks like from an agent's perspective, which should be fascinating.
Yeah, we're gonna delve into the player who is draftable and the player who's waiting for free agency. How's the family deal with that? And then how many phone conversations must these agents have? And what if? What if it's not the NBA? What's the European market? I'm really excited about next week's guest.
Absolutely. That should be a blast. If you were looking to get in touch with Phil to help make a difference, head on over to pnjmakeadifference.com as where you can tell Phil your story to get involved with boots on the ground, making a difference in the classroom, on the court, off the court, or in the workplace. We are at Make a Difference Pod on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube, at Make a Diff Pod on X, Make a Difference with Phil Martelli on Facebook. If you're watching on YouTube, feel free to like and subscribe, leave a comment if you must, and give us a 5-star rating on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. We feeling good about this coming weekend? Mets, Phils.
I'm very confident about this weekend. And Friday night, I believe that Wheeler's pitching. So put that one in the books.
You heard it here first. Phil sweep this weekend.
Well, that would put them in first place.
Let's get after it.
All right.